Hello, everybody. Welcome to Queer Teen Podcast Live. Oh, I do these shows every Thursday night at 7 o'clock to my tens of fans. And tonight's a special one. I have some people joining, which is going to be really, really fun. I got some awesome people coming up in the house. I think I might have some people from Africa. I'm not really sure, but it's pretty cool. I'm super excited. Hey! Oh, hey, Oreo. Yeah, so I have some awesome guests tonight talking about the refugee camps in Africa. One particular, it's like over 100,000 people, and it's Block 13, and we're going to talk about the LGBTQ component. So I'm super excited. I'm just waiting for my guests to come on. All I have to do is join. I got Babs and I got Victor, and I'll let them introduce themselves and explain the mission and what they're doing and all the work they were doing. This is the work that I'm doing to get the word out there. I will post this on my Instagram forever and ever and ever to get the word out. I hope everybody's doing really well. Let's see, it's almost October. October is my favorite month because it's my birthday month. I'll be 39 on October 13th, so that's super exciting. And it's Halloween! This is my Golden Girls shirt. Yes. So, yeah. So I'm just going to assume that people don't know what they're doing and they're going to come on and ask to join me. Hi, Victor. Victor, I can ask to join you since we'll just start with you because I have people here. We'll start and we'll chat. And then if Babs comes in, she comes in. No biggie. So let me see. Let me go find you. There you are. I'm going to ask Victor. Let's see. You accept and then we'll chat. It's just like that. It's pretty awesome. Just going to put the information out there that everyone needs to know and understand. Here you come. Yay! I can't hear you. There you are.
Is that clear?
Perfect. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for this space on your platform.
I will provide space the rest of my life. So you and I want lots of friends to do that with. So thank you for letting me in your life and meeting Babs, and I know Chauncey from a long time ago, and it's kind of a cool full circle moment to bring in more people to fight the good fight.
Yeah, causes usually bring people together.
As they should.
And now I know them. And now I know you.
Exactly. Now we can actually virtually know each other. Can you just tell everybody what you do and then talk a little bit about like what's going on with Block 13?
Well, thank you so much again. My name is Victor Mukasa, and I am based here in Baltimore, Maryland, US. I'm originally from Uganda. I left Uganda, fled to the US in 2012 when things were becoming really hectic for me as a frontline activist for LGBT human rights, and also as a transgender man, and also, basically all my identities were problematic with my government. And at some point, it was very imperative for me to leave the country. The reason I had to leave as an activist is because my profile and status as an activist, was really up there, being one of the founding fathers or parents of the Ugandan LGBT human rights movement, founding few of the organizations that are existent there right now, including Sexual Minorities Uganda, which is like the umbrella organization for all LGBT organizations in that country. So I was a target for my government, for the religious folks, for the religious right from the United States that actually brought about the anti-homosexuality bill, which was called the Kill the Gays bill, the law that led many people to flee Uganda into Kenya. Hence the situation we have at hand here right now in KAKUMA camp. So because of that, from the time that there was an exodus of LGBT people from Uganda to Kenya in 2014, when that anti-homosexuality bill actually was signed into law by the president of Uganda. A lot of people had to flee the country for their lives. It was literally death. The penalty was death penalty. And so many other things. You are going to face 14 years in jail for just being an activist. You are going to face about 7 years in jail for just knowing that your child is gay and you don't report them. You know, it was something that I have heard about here in the United States in the further years. And it's not surprising that actually it came from here, that it is the US religious right that brought it to Uganda, the likes of Scott Lively in Massachusetts and other evangelical churches here in the US. But in 2014, when they fled, most of them were urban refugees in Kenya. However, later on, a lot of them were transferred to KAKUMA camp. There are two camps, two refugee camps in Kenya. One of them is KAKUMA refugee camp and another one called Dadaab. Now, we don't have LGBT refugees in that other camp. All the LGBT refugees are usually taken to KAKUMA refugee camp, which has just above or close to 200,000 refugees in general. Now, in terms of LGBT populations, they've been up and down since 2014. At some point, we had only about 60 people there. Like at some point in 2014, there's a time we had about 500 there. You know, there's a time we had just 200, and right now we are registering the figures about 300, 350. The block that we are talking about is called Block 13. So KAKUMA camp in the resettlement areas within the camp, the integration areas, they are divided into blocks. And they're like kind of residential blocks. And this particular block 13 is where we have 141 LGBTQA, because they have allies there, refugees. Neighboring them are some of their friends, but also those who attack them. So even those who defend them during the attacks are a part of what we are speaking for at this point, because them too are targeted. When the attackers come, they're punished for helping LGBTQ people, for hiding children during the attacks, for hiding women during the attacks. So you find that we are trying to fight for about 190 people. The 141 now less, because we lost a child recently, 140 at Block 13, but also those that are their allies, that are known to be their allies. Now, I came into this again this year when I founded the Victor Mukasa Show, a podcast that is focusing on everything African and queer. And I dedicated the month of May to refugees in Kenya, LGBT refugees in Kenya, because we were going to have the Ida Hobbit International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia and Biphobia. And I thought that building up to that day, I would focus on LGBT refugees, because I feel in a big way I'm a refugee myself, even if I came as an asylum seeker to the United States and later attained the asylum status and now a permanent resident. I'm also fleeing persecution from my country just like them. And I said, I always focus on transgender issues and these issues. This time I'm focusing on refugees. So I did a first show with them. And a few days later, they woke me up here at home and said, we have been attacked terribly on June 19th. And on June 19th, their attackers are usually Sudanese, homophobic Sudanese, other nationals from Africa, African homophobic countries, Burundian refugees, sometimes it's even the natives of the Turkana land where KAKUMA camp is situated, the natives of that semi-desert, the Turkana people are also very homophobic, which is not surprising for most of Africa, the homophobia that stinks there. So on June 19th in particular, it was the Sudanese refugees. When I woke up to the news, immediately I called and they asked, please get our message out there for us. We are under attack and we need support and we need everybody, but we have nothing. And I also rose up to use what I have attained over the years, my human locally, and decided to take the word out via social media and other ways of means of communication. And in so doing, I started to mobilize different support for the group. For example, at that point, we had a lot of suicidal cases who were just fed up because that was not the first attack. It features a lot because it was a major attack. Before that day, we had their houses set on fire. We had rapes. Both male and female have been raped in that from that block. We have had theft of their property by homophobic mobs still. We had police harassing many of them. We had reports from the service providers, like the hospitals that are run by the UNHCR and its partners, where they are discriminated against as LGBT people, that they will be just left sometimes or insulted for being that and being blamed for every calamity that falls in the desert. So it was not the first, but it was major, and there were a lot of casualties. More than 30 people were seriously injured. So I had to make a call for first responders, and luckily people responded from my networks. I got a doctor and therapists from North America and Europe. That group of first responders is still working with them. They give therapy, and they've done a great job there. I set up a GoFundMe page for them to ensure that they have food and medicine and all the basics that the kids can feed, and just get the basics for humanity. And I called for a letter writing campaign to the UNHCR, and called on advocates to just come and join the efforts. And before we knew it, a lot of people came on board, word of mouth from social media, people bringing in what they can do best. At the moment, we have people who are organizing protests. We have people who their work is to write emails every day to the UNHCR, to governments. We have the first responders, we have doctors, and we have now human rights organizations, which was a lacking piece in this puzzle. And I think that we have worked hard together with Block 13, who are very organized now and are leading this, to get international human rights organizations on board. And as we speak, we have about 5 to 6 organizations that will be making certain actions still at the UN Agency for Refugees to evacuate. The main ask by the refugees at Block 13, and that ask that all the various teams are amplifying, is their evacuation from KAKUMA camp. KAKUMA camp, which is traditionally homophobic. It's not surprising that it's homophobic. It has all these nationalities from homophobic African countries, where people are killed for being gay, where people are jailed for being gay. Now, these people have all come together. All these people have come together, and they are still, even if they are fleeing things themselves, they come with their homophobia. And even if they're all refugees, these refugees believe that the LGBT people, refugees, do not belong in the camp. They do not belong with them, just like they would not belong with them in their countries. So we have Ugandan refugees, we have Burundian refugees, we have somebody from Yemen, we have some from Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo among the refugees that we are talking about. The attacks continue. Recently, on the 11th of September, we had another major attack from the Turkana people, the locals of the area. Just last week, end of last week, we lost one of the children at Block 13. We've had 26 children there, now 25. COVID Patricia Namubiru Geneva, who was also known as Queen of the Jungle. This child UNHCR has been very merciless, really, when it comes to the situation of the plight of LGBT refugees. Has not had them out, but right now, the death of Patricia is just announcing what could happen to so many people in that camp on Block 13. Patricia died at 4 months plus, almost 5 months of age. She was born in April, towards the end of April. 3 days later, when she was 3 days old, she was tear gassed by the police in that area, Kenyan police, instructed and led by the UNHCR in front of the UNHCR. The reason that they were tear gassed, the reason why she was tear gassed, is because LGBT refugees were already facing attacks wherever they were living within the camp, in the different blocks that they lived. And they felt that they could not take it anymore. The best option was to go to the one they call their parent, the UNHCR, and tell them, look here, we cannot survive in this camp. We need your protection. And they stayed there in peaceful protest, meaning refusing to leave, to go back to where they are attacked. Now, the UNHCR did not listen to them. It did nothing. Instead, on April 30th, they instructed the police to forcefully take them out of that area back to the camp. And the police tear gassed them. Baby Patricia inhaled it all. At 3 months old, we have adults among these refugees who are still suffering the effects of that tear gas. Now, this was a 3-day-old baby. And immediately her skin, I mean, we've been taking care of her. Her skin has been damaged. You know, she's been suffering with skin problems, chest problems, breathing problems. And indeed, it was not surprising when she passed last week. It was not a surprise. She was suffering. They had already killed her. You know, you cannot do that to a 3-day-old baby and you expect that they will survive. And many might follow her because they have gotten the same problem. The UNHCR is aware that they did that to the refugees. The UNHCR is aware that people have been raped. The UNHCR is aware that men have been sexually abused by the police in KAKUMA, where they have pushed batons inside their areas, that women have been raped. They know that arms have been broken by attackers who are refugees themselves. They know that skulls have been broken. They know that people have been burnt in their houses by fellow refugees. The UNHCR knows all this. The UNHCR says it is not real. The UNHCR says it is taking care of this. The UNHCR is making the victim, is painting a picture as if the victim is the problem. That the UNHCR reaches an extent of saying, we want these refugees to have dialogue with the other refugees. Meaning, these people who have been raped should have a dialogue with their rapists. These people who have been hacked should have a dialogue with those who have hacked them. These people who have their houses should have raped them, who have attacked them, are still running the camp. And the UNHCR is not bringing them to book. So it is sending them back to their attacker, to their rapist, to their abuser, to those who have violated their human rights. And the ask from Block 13, in which is a genuine ask, is for the UNHCR and the Kenyan government to evacuate them from the camp. The UNHCR can only do that by providing movement passes to these refugees. Without movement passes, the refugees cannot leave that camp. It is to any urban area that they might choose to take them.
There we go. You broke up a little bit. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you
Okay.
clearly.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Just say
just
the last part. Just say the last part again with the allow passes.
yes. It would be easy for, say, your followers to just help and collect money, and we send it to Kakuma, and people leave the camp. But we cannot even do that because they cannot just leave the camp. They are under the protection of the UNHCR and the Kenyan government. They are their responsibility. And if they just left the camp without that permission, that special permission, they'll be arrested because they're not allowed to be moving around the country. They'll be arrested. They will not get to the cities for safety. But if we have the UNHCR together with the Kenyan government issuing them movement passes, which is the pass that makes them, that gives them permission to safely travel, if they could just issue that and take them out of the camp safely to another city, another place, even if it's rural area, but safer than homophobic Kakuma camp, that would be saving lives. Otherwise, if they don't do that, we might lose more lives. We have lost lives. These people's souls have died already. These people have seen horrors, the refugees. Their stories are horrible. When you speak to the therapists, if they talked about the situation, the effect of what has happened to them generally, these people are like dead. They're like dead. We have people whose skulls are still, because there's no help in that part of Kenya, that they just need to be even airlifted and taken quickly to save their lives. So people are slowly dying. And if we do not act, then we are letting them to die. I am happy to share more as we speak, if there are any questions. But briefly, I am there because I care. I am there because I have dedicated my work, my life to human rights for over 2 decades, and I care so deeply about the issues of LGBT refugees, not only in Africa but globally. Because other refugees, we get emails. I get emails from refugees in Turkey, Iranian refugees complaining about similar things. The UNHCR, I think, needs to style up. To your listeners, if they could just write to the UNHCR and urge them to evacuate suffering refugees, LGBT refugees from Kakuma camp, because Kakuma camp is not safe. If they could just issue them with movement passes, please sign petitions online that are calling for the protection of LGBT refugees in Kakuma camp. Please donate to the GoFundMe page that is on my Facebook page, Victor Mukasa, or on the Victor Mukasa show page. It is very obvious that it is the page that is collecting funds for them. On my Facebook page too, there is a link where you can donate to these refugees. Please get your human rights organizations that you know on board. Urge them to stand up for refugees. If you are in school, there's a way that you can organize a letter writing campaign from school for letters to go to the UNHCR, and pick any UNHCR office in your city, in your country, or wherever you live. Write to whoever you can to call for the rescue of LGBT refugees on Block 13 in Kakuma camp. They need to get out of there as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing all of that, because this information will get to a lot of people. I'm working really hard to get it even further. I won't say that right now, just in case it doesn't go through. But we're working really hard to get it further. It will get heard. It will get seen. Everyone will be heard. I'm gonna switch to Babs at some point. She's just gonna explain what they're doing on the ground, so we can get the word out even more. I really, really appreciate you. I thank you for really painting an extreme picture of what it's like over there, and many other places. But this is what we're focusing on. You know, we tend to, and when we do human rights, we have to, because there's so much going on in the world for queer people, we have to tend to focus on one thing specific. I know, with inside of a bigger
Yeah.
picture, of course. So we don't get America. That's even a whole other level of
And
crazy. So, but this is something that we're gonna keep moving forward with, and really push and push and push and push. And that's it.
Thank you
There's nothing else to say. Go ahead.
so much. Thanks for the space.
The space is always here forever and ever and ever. I'm going to switch over now. Oh, he's gone. Thank you. All right. Babs, let's switch. Ah, no. All right. Thank you so much, Victor. Really. Everyone go to Facebook. Find Victor Mukasa. He's there. He has his page. He has his podcast. Please, 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 please. All right. Reaching out to Babs. Let's go, Babs. Accept my invitation to come in. Where'd you go? We'll just lay out a little bit more groundwork. Where'd you go? Waiting for you. Well, yes, please. Just human rights are a real thing, and queer rights are 100% at the top of the list as far as human rights are concerned. It's very, very detrimental to these people's lives in these countries. This Block 13, you have to wake up to the world. Babs is unable to join. Why are you unable to join? Where did you go? Let's try that again. I'm going to ask you to join. And then you're going to join. Where'd you go? Did you leave? So funny. But that's okay. Babs doesn't come on. Just know that you can always reach out to my podcast, the Victor Mukasa Show podcast, on Facebook, podcast. Listen, there's a lot of work going on for queer rights in Africa. A lot more than you realize. Because if they're not succeeding, then we're not succeeding, and then we can't do this together. This thing called life. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna bounce. Thank you so much for joining in tonight, and I will put some information on where to find Victor and to write these letters and to get this going. Okay, keep it going. Much love. Bye, everyone.